Now, one of my esteemed former parliamentary colleagues is Norman Baker. I was never in the same party as him and never on the same political page as him, but I always respected him, not least because of the role that he played in the run-up to the Iraq War, which changed, of course, the course of British political history, including my own political history, and to some extent, maybe even his. He wrote a very important book on the strange death of Dr. David Kelly, on which I based my film, Killing Kelly, which many people have been kind enough to say was a critical success, at least. But he also wrote another stonking book, which I very much enjoyed, on the British royal family. Now, the significance of him being right honourable is that while I was only honourable, he was right honourable. That means he is a Privy Councillor. That means the late Queen had an obligation and the right to consult him on great issues of the day. And the new king has the same Privy Council and the same obligations. So whether or not he ever takes their advice, I have my doubts. And whether within the Privy Council he'd take the advice of the man who is exposed so much about the royal finances and how they work as Norman Baker, I have even greater doubt. But I'm very glad to say that he is now on the show, the Right Honourable Norman Baker. Welcome to the mother of all talk shows. Norman, it's been some time. So much royal news since we last spoke. You looking forward to the coronation?
It's not my cup of tea, George, particularly I have to say that. I shan't be out there waving flags, no.
Well, as a member of the Privy Council, I thought you had a front row seat. Aren't you going?
No, I shall be undertaking various media duties to make sure that the whole cat and caboodle is put into perspective and people are aware of how much it's costing. You know, we were told by Charles we wanted to slim down monarchy, and yet this particular one, this coronation, is going to cost £250 million. That's 5 times more in real terms, 5 times more than Queen Elizabeth's one cost, which was £47 million in 1953 prices. But here's something else, George. I don't know if you know this. I only found out myself about a fortnight ago. There are about 9 European monarchies left. I mean, most of them have gone, of course. But the ones that are left, nobody else has a coronation apart from us. The Spanish coronation, the last one, was 1555.
Well, I didn't know that, and it is indeed the paradox that I wanted to start off talking with you about tonight. What is slimmed down about this jamboree? It is super fat. It is super obese. It is Big Mac, McDonald's, gas guzzling, Coca-Cola guzzling, super fat monarchy that we're going to be looking at on Saturday, isn't it?
Absolutely. All the paraphernalia, the Disney World will be there. The golden coaches, the castles, the fake princesses, they're all there. The Disney experience for the Americans will be there. It's a PR puff for the royal family. Let's be quite clear about that. That's what it's about. It's about boosting their image. And actually, I think it's a mistake because the image they're going to present is one of a ruritarian monarchy, which is now way out of touch with the population at large. And the opinion polls, which aren't reflected on the BBC, by the way, I have to say, the opinion polls show only 9% of the population care a great deal about this event. And 2/3 of the population either don't care at all or don't care very much. We don't hear that. We don't hear, for example, that 14% of the population only think Camilla should. We haven't heard that one either. So the media has booked its slots, it's booked its reporters, it's sorted out the whole thing way in advance, months in advance, and it's incapable of responding to the public mood, which is different to what they think it is.
I feel sure, and in fact gratified to hear you put numbers on it, but I would have felt sure of the general direction of public opinion, as you've just described it. Let's go to Queen Camilla. You and I both sat in Parliament when we were repeatedly counselled, we were repeatedly assured that she would not be the Queen. She'd be the Queen consort. And now she's the Queen. And not only that, she has announced that she's going to wear the late Queen Anne's crown because she didn't want to go to all the trouble of making a new one. So she's going to be using a second-hand crown. Will that save her blushes? Because I reckon she's even more unpopular than the king.
Well, I think she is. And I also think, actually, it's not that I particularly care about family relations, but I think it's discourteous to William and Harry, to be honest with you, for her to take that title of Queen. And actually, George, you remember, it wasn't just Queen consort. Go back a couple of years before that, she was going to be called the Duchess of Cornwall and stick with that. That's what she was going to be.
You're right, I'd forgotten that. I mean, great efforts were made. I remember your now political colleague, but then my political colleague, Andrew McKinley MP, now a Liberal Democrat councillor. I remember he put relentless pressure on the government on this question, and they were never done with their assurances not to worry that this woman who'd driven Diana mad and possibly indirectly to her death, who had been an adulterer herself, having an adulterous affair with Prince Charles, who nobody cared for, not to worry. She would not have any real position in the Constitution. But now she does. How did that happen? Why was Parliament silent on that?
Well, Parliament just, the government of the day, whichever party it is, just does what the royals want, and it has done for centuries. And whenever the royals come cap in hand, say we need more money, they get more money. When they say we want to have this particular title, they get that particular title. That's how it is. I mean, I think, to be honest with you, in my head, Camilla is not queen, she's a mistress royal.
That would be, at least, had the benefit of being the truth. And of course, all these kings had mistresses, and that's a matter of historical fact. But they never tried to make them the queen.
No, they didn't. But I mean, I think Charles, of course, is obsessed by her. I don't quite know why. I mean, we all have our individual tastes, I suppose, but I have to say Diana was rather a better character in my view than Camilla, but hey, that's up to Charles. However, we know that he was obsessed by her. We know he was carrying on an affair as he was leading Diana up the aisle and up the garden path at the same time. We know he wanted to be her tampon. I mean, this is the man who is now king.
It's a shabby state of affairs, isn't it, Norman? And it makes the country look shabby. And maybe the country is shabby, and therefore that's what we deserve.
Well, I think we are, I mean, in a way. And I think also that, you know, as always, as with David Kelly, as with the royal finances, as with this, the media lets us down. They don't do their job properly. They just kowtow and go along with whatever they're told to go along with. I mean, the media in this country is quite shocking. And the more I've been an MP, and the more I've been looking into matters, the more disgraceful the media appears to me to be. They should be exposing these matters, but we haven't heard a whisper of it. It's the first time I've been able to be on air and talk about these things properly. You know, I go on here and talk about the royal finances and let me on for a minute or two, then shut me up. But this is, you know, these matters ought to be discussed. And given the opinion poll that only 40% want Camilla to be queen, this is after a barrage of public relations over many years, trying to persuade us otherwise. It hasn't worked.
When's the next meeting of the Privy Council?
Well, I don't know. I mean, we don't have any votes, of course. I mean, I went to the Accession Council, when Charles became king, so the week after his mother. And by the way, why are we at the coronation 6 months on? If you believe in all this mystique, which the royal family is supposed to do, the anointing of oil and all that, if you believe in all that, that should take place immediately after the Queen dies, not 6 months later. So anyway, I went to the Accession Council, George, which was the one which took place immediately after the Queen's death, which is when he actually became king. It was kind of chaired by Liz Truss, God help us, who was a prime minister at the time. All the other prime ministers were there. It was quite an interesting experience, I have to say. You'd have enjoyed it. The best comment, I think, came at the end from the Deputy Speaker, Nigel Evans, who said to me when we went there, he said, now we go out through the gift shop. But that was kind of how it was.
Norman, I know you're going to be very busy as a royal expert over these next few days. I hope it leads to a second career for you and it goes well. Thank you very much for joining us on the mother of all talk shows on the eve of the coronation of King Charles III.